We sold advertising, and we started with just a few people. We started getting paid commissions because he wanted to incentivize us to say like, hey, make more sales. Let's have good sales numbers. So he said, I'm gonna figure out a way to get you guys commission. And he did. He went to bat for us. He went and negotiated with the prison system, and the prison system would take, the prison system, this is where they actually get you. They charge us room and board. So if we get...
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
shit, the prison?
Yes. I've got friends who've paid thousands, like tens of thousands.
To be in prison?
Yeah, for room and board. Straight up room and board. I got a buddy. He might talk to you about
What
it. He's probably paid 50 G's in room and board.
What?
Yeah, close friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. He's probably... I probably paid 10 grand. They take it from our check.
What's up, everybody? Big Herc 916, getting down with fresh out prison talk. And I have here with me the homie Mike from AZ. And, we're kicking a little game around and kind of sharing some insight on what he experienced in the Arizona prison culture. And Mike, we were talking about prison economics, man, and you were saying how different economics in prison are here in Arizona. And I know on a lot of prison yards, money is one of the biggest things that surrounds the whole prison culture. And can you dabble a little bit in that for us?
Well, you pretty much just said it. It's in Arizona, money is not one of the biggest things. It is the biggest thing. Money means everything. In fact, when I first went to prison, things were a lot different. This was like kind of, I guess, at the end of the old days, as they called it, into the new generation of how the prison system is. Whereas nowadays, there's people who are no good that can stay on the yard because they have money. And there's proof that they're no good. And I've seen this on many occasions. And money rules everything in the prison system now. So, for example, how we were talking a little bit earlier about the drugs. In Arizona, we've got two drugs in our prison mainly. We got spice, which is like a potpourri, chemical marijuana type thing that people smoke and they lose their marbles on it, like bath salts. It's intense. And there's heroin. That's the other drug. So around 2010, weed stopped showing up. You just didn't see it as much anymore. It just almost disappeared, and spice took over because it didn't come up on UAs. And people would smoke spice and black out. Well, this is one of the weird little things about prison economy. The dudes who had money, sometimes the shot callers, sometimes the dudes who ran the yard, they're selling the spice. And they're, these 19, 20-year-old kids are coming in, they're selling them, the spice to these kids.
So what are they going for? Like a spice cigarette, like a little rollie, like a...
Well, it's kind of hard to... we call them like... It's a pinner.
Pinner.
Yeah, it's a pinner. So it's a really, really... Imagine a toothpick joint. That's what it is. But the thing is, like, people on the street smoke weed and they're thinking like a joint or a blunt. That's a lot.
Nothing. Yeah.
This little toothpick joint takes people away. Like, it takes them to outer space. It takes them to Looney Tune land. It's a whole... it's very strong stuff these kids are smoking. It's
$10 for something like that?
A stick, that's what we'd call it. A stick probably $5-10, but a cap is like a chapstick cap.
Okay, yeah.
$50. That's
damn.
Yeah, $50.
Spice?
Yeah, so it depends on the yard you're on too. So on a minimum yard, it's going to be a little bit cheaper, whereas like on a 4-yard, that's going to be like $100. Yeah, on a 4-yard, that's about like $80 to $100. They a cap, because it's harder to get stuff into 4 yards. Wow, it's harder to get in SMU. SMU in Arizona, those are our super max units. We have SMU 1, SMU 2, and SMU 3, and that's where people who are just straight locked down all the time. In SMU, a single cigarette, like a Newport, that's like $20, like for one cigarette. A cap of spice in SMU is like probably $200-$300.
That's crazy.
Because they can't get it there. It's
wow.
Yeah, they can, but it's not easy. So you know what I mean?
Damn potpourri.
Yeah. So back to the point about that though. These guys who were selling the dope, sometimes the shot caller, sometimes the dudes who were speaking for their building or speaking for their run or speaking for the yard, selling it to these young kids. Well, guess what? If you're a young Mexican kid or white kid or whatever race you are, and you smoke that stuff and you pass out and you black out, and the cops have to come get you and take you to medical because you're like having seizures on the ground and stuff, which happens regularly. By the time I got to minimum yard, I probably saw this happen 50 times minimum.
Damn.
And to be honest, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen it happen because I don't know. But these kids would smoke this stuff and pass out, black out, and wherever they're standing, on the middle of the basketball court, inside the bay, in the bathroom, because people smoke when the yard locks down at night in the bathrooms, And if the guards got to come get you and take you to medical, well, now you're getting a major ticket from the guards because they know you're high. But guess what? When you get back to the yard, you're getting beat up.
Getting booked.
You're getting beat up by the same motherfuckers who sold you the spice because
you couldn't handle it.
Because you couldn't handle it, and you put the pot on blast, and you put that run on blast, and you put that
now
building
they're going to search and
on
do
blast.
a whole
Now they're going to start searching. Now they're going to start tearing stuff up, looking for that stuff. And if you can't handle, same motherfucker who sold it to you is going to be the same one who called somebody and say, "Yo, go take care of this kid." Now you're getting beat up and you in debt for some. So economics in prison really rule, everything. Money is everything. If you get the yard shut down, you're in a lot of trouble. Like if you get the entire yard shut down, depending on what race you are, the white boys are very strict out here. They don't play games. The Mexicans are the next strictest. The brothers, the blacks, we're the most mellow. We have very lax rules. We could do, for the most part, we have a little more freedom.
So what would give somebody a pass if they're no good as far as economically to allow them to stay on the yard?
They're the plug. They're the plug.
That's how they buy their way on the yard.
Yeah, they're hitting through visitation or their jobs on the outside every week. Or they're homies with the plug, or they just have it like that. Like there's some people who've been in the system so long, and a lot of people know they're no good. Like these are guys who've been in the system 20, 30 years. They're lifers, and a lot of people know they're no good. And it just changed. Back in the old days, it was a little bit different. People like that couldn't be walking around the yard.
Do people hang out with the socialize with them? Do they kind of let them be out themselves? Are they still there in the mix?
I guess it would depend on like how serious the reputation for being no good was. Like if you would just done something recently on another yard, and then word got back to this yard, and now you got moved over here. I've seen that kind of thing happen before. In fact, I had it happen to my cellie. A dude came in, he was my cellie for a whole day. And he ended up being no good, and
they checked his ass.
Yeah, he was a big dude. He's probably 6'5", 6'6", and 2-3 people. He didn't have enough money. That's what it comes down to. If you ain't got enough money, you know what I mean. And they'll extort you too. If you're no good, that's one of the very few reasons. For the most part, extortion doesn't happen. In Arizona prisons, a lot of the rumors and stuff you're gonna see, on TV, or like the myths you hear about prison, like rape. In 7 years. Never saw it happen.
Well, I tell people that too. It's not like, oh man, who's getting? Look, dude, I wouldn't. Now I know some dudes. They would tell me like in some prisons down in Louisiana, certain places. Yeah. Dude, they had a dude and he was letting everybody bust his cheeks. I didn't see that. I heard one time I knew the dude. He was, but it wasn't like every day you hear about, like it wasn't regular.
It ain't like the movies.
Yeah, like
like prolific.
The dude's regular. Like, come on, bro. It's like, you know what I mean? He's like a regular cheek buster. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So in Arizona prisons, even if like we have, there's gays. We call them Cheetos. That's what, like they're gays, and sometimes they be little cliques. They be calling each other bitch and everything. Like it's crazy because you be hearing them call each other bitch in prison. If somebody calls you a punk or a bitch, you have no choice but to immediately get off on them. Like you don't have a choice. It's time to go. Yeah. But the gay guys, they could do that to each other. They could say those things to each other, and it was crazy. But they're in prison. They're not allowed to do anything. Two gay guys in prison can't touch. Like if they do, if it's two brothers, then the brothers are gonna find out about it at some point in time. They might get away with it once or twice, but the brother's gonna find out about it at some point in time, and you're gonna get your fucking head kicked in. That's what it's gonna be. Yeah. And then if it's like a white dude and a black dude, which I actually saw that happen. It was a white gay dude and a black undercover gay dude. Yeah, they were messing around, and they both got their heads kicked in pretty bad. It was because they were two different races. That's a real big.
Yeah, and it can cause a lot of shit.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like it all comes back down to economics. It's all about money. The people who got the money are running the yard. The money goes from the minimum yards up to the maximum yards. It works its way back up to the top, and there's people who are responsible. Yeah, there's people who are responsible for. I have a friend of mine, a good friend of mine now. He'll probably watch this interview. I don't want to say his name or anything, but he ran the minimum yard I was on. He ran that yard for a while, and we used to chop it up, and he taught me how the white boys did. He would tell me like little stories about how the white boys did it and the whole system, and how the money goes all the way back up to the top, and how much stress it is on the person who's running the yard because they have to make enough money to get it back to the top. Because if they mess up, if they mess up, they're the most liable. The people who are running, and that's another thing too, is a lot of the times the people who are running the yards are no good. Not in that case, not in the case of my friend. He's a solid dude. But a lot of the times, in some of the higher yards I was on, the people who were running the yards were no good. We knew this. They would get called. So we have a SSU in Arizona. SSU stands for Special Services Unit, or like they're like the detectives. They're like
SSI and the feds. I think they investigate.
Yeah. So they're like they think they're tough shit. They're like the FBI.
Yeah,
they think they're
inside the fed, inside the jail.
Exactly.
Inside the jail.
Yeah, the COs are regular cops. These motherfuckers are
special forces. Yeah.
Exactly. So they come. When I was on higher yards, when I was on 3 and 4 yards in Buckeye, a lot of the times these guys, SSU would have their own offices, and they would call through the radio, like, hey, inmate's name, and this is somebody who was running the yard for whatever race it was, the Paisas or the Chiefs or whatever, and you'd go talk to the SSU guy by yourself for 2 hours, and you're running the yard, and we would see this like on a regular basis, because I lived in the building where all the workers lived, and all the workers tended to be, the higher ups.
And see, in the feds, you got to bring a homie with you.
Yeah, and because it used to be like that. Here, it's not like that no more.
Wow.
Back when I first went into the system, you can't talk to the cops alone.
No, you got to have somebody to say, hey man, I was there. It wasn't no funny shit. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, always.
Yeah,
always. But it got to a point now. Now it's just like I said. It's Arizona's a segregated prison. Since I've been released, I've heard that it's changed. It's not segregated anymore because they weren't getting federal funding. The prison was forced to desegregate, which means now in Arizona, blacks cell with blacks. We bunk only with our own race. In fact, if you get put into a cell with another race, you have no choice. Like you could be 2 cool ass dudes, but you got to tell the cop like, hey, I'm not gonna cell here. And if the cop's like, okay, and he leaves, you got to fight. You got to fight that guy. And he could be the nicest, you know what I mean? He could be the nicest guy. You could be the nicest guy. Never met each other. But you can't be in a cell with another race. That's a very serious rule here. So blacks sell with blacks. Chicanos sell with Chicanos. Paisas sell with Paisas. White boys sell with white boys. And Chiefs sell with Chiefs. Sometimes the Chicanos and Paisas, because the Paisas are from Mexico, the Chicanos are from, United States. They're both Mexican. They could sometimes sell together. You'd see that every now and then. But they're very serious. These rules are very serious. But what happened was, money, the economics became so powerful that people stopped paying attention to these rules. There is no rules anymore. I've heard stories from friends who were just getting out. Like I got buddies who are still getting released every now and then. I've heard that now that it's desegregated, there's like little gangs back in prison. If it's desegregated, there's no heads of the yard. There's no head for the brothers. There's no head for the white boys. There's no head for the Chicanos. So now that it's desegregated, there's no heads. Nobody's running anything. So now it's like chaos. There's like young kids and shit in there running around. You go to store, you get your store bag. Somebody can run up and grab your fucking store bag. When I was in prison, that could never happen. It don't matter who you are. You could be the smallest, nerdiest little guy ever. If you got your store bag, can't nobody touch your fucking store bag. If somebody does, you better believe, like, if you're a Mexican, the Mexicans are gonna come fucking back you up and get all your shit back. Nowadays, I've heard it's different. I've heard people are in there fucking just, getting off on each other, just taking whatever they want, beating each other up, just, I don't know. I haven't been in prison 5 years now, so but it's been changing, and that's all been due, I think, to the economy and money in prison, drugs. Heroin is essentially the main market. People run their stores. Spice.
How much money do you think heroin generates in prison a month?
Depending on the yard or in the state.
Like on a particular yard.
Depending on the yard. So like on a minimum yard, I don't know how much I can say.
You ain't got it. I mean,
no. On a minimum yard, probably 10 G's a month, maybe more. So we used to play a lot of poker. I've been playing poker since I was a little kid. In fact, my great grandma taught me how to play poker when I was a little kid, and I'm a very good poker player. I play now to this day. I play all over. I've played in Vegas, Texas. I play in L.A. I play in San Diego. I play every casino in Arizona. My wife and I both play a lot of poker, and in prison, I played a lot of poker as well. I made a lot of money playing poker. And we would run the table. So for each race, the brothers got, we'd have a session. So for the blacks, I run the table. Everybody knew me because I played poker.
And you take care of all your people?
Me and another brother, yeah. Okay. It'd usually be me, like me and my homie, don't want to say his name, but me and him would usually run the table for 2 weeks. And we get the table, and then the Mexicans get it next for 2 weeks. And then the white boys get it next for 2 weeks, and the Paisas get it next for 2 weeks, and the Chiefs get it if they play. You have to have 2 players playing on every single session.
Oh, so you didn't have, like, I know in the feds they have different tables. So it might be the Hawaiian's table, the Nathaniel's table, Serrano's table. Everybody has their own poker table, and you can, depending on who you mess with, you can buy into those tables.
No, yeah. So here it's different. So here, like, if you're on like a minimum yard where there's a lot of poker action, for example. Minimum yards are really where it's in Arizona where everything is at. Everybody's trying to get to minimum yards because that's where all the money is. There's a lot of money on minimum yards. We've ran poker tables My good friend Mac, he won't mind me saying his name because he's like a brother to me. Mac won't mind. Mac and I used to run poker tables, and we've literally made like 4 figures in weeks, like high 4 figures many times. And we'd get offers to get paid in something like, hey, we owe one of our guys is down 800 clips. A clip is like a honey bun, $1 item, right? He's down 800 clips. You'd be like, what the? How does this happen? But it's on a minimum yard. How can a guy get down $800? Well, because there's that kind of money on some of these. There's a lot of money on some of these yards. There's people who got a lot of money on some of these yards. So we could run the tables like that, and we could make good amounts of money doing that. And each building has its own poker table, and that table gets passed to each race
rotates.
Every 2 weeks. As long as so if there's no brothers who play, though, we can't get the table in that building.
Okay, I got you.
That's the reason I always had the table, because I played more poker than anybody, and I was very good at it. So the brothers always gave me the table, and like we didn't pay taxes or nothing like that. There was nobody like, hey, you got to pay 30%. We just ran the table, and as long as we didn't get in no trouble, we were good, and that's what we. That's what we did. That's how we survived economically for years.
Okay. Yeah, because I know. Like I tell people, I'm like, dude, if you sit down at the table and you build a debt, don't think you're just gonna go check in, because when you come back out somewhere else, it's gonna follow you.
Yeah, you get followed. I mean? You'll run into somebody else who, hey, I just saw you a month ago.
Or you got word, so and so checked in, he's over here.
Yeah.
And you pop in, you're at another poker table. I'm like, dude, you owe the homies from over here.
Yeah.
Now you're over here thinking you're gonna play because you're at a different yard. It don't work like that.
Yeah. Well, in Arizona, if you check in, and they know when you get to another yard, they're just gonna beat you up, and make you check in again. Like even if you owe money, if you owe $500, as soon as you get there, they're not even gonna.
You're not even gonna try.
They're not even gonna try to collect it. They're just gonna whoop your ass.
Yeah.
They're not gonna. What they do is they're gonna pretend everything's real, casual, laid back. And then, when you walking around, a couple hours later, you've been on the yard for 2-3 hours. They go, you go take a piss, and there's somebody behind you with a lock.
If you're fed up with paying cable companies and streaming apps too much money every month, then Vault TV is the solution you've been waiting for. Watch up to 100,000 movies on demand, up to 5,000 TV shows with over 120,000 episodes. Visit us at vaulttv.com.
So we were also talking about how they have a lot of outside contracting with inmates.
Yep.
Which in the feds, you don't Unicor and it's all structured where it's almost pretty much slave labor. You're not making no money, but here you're saying you actually get wages to where you can actually save enough money to send home.
Yes, and that's another reason why there's so much money on these minimum yards too. So, and these aren't just on minimum yards, but a few examples. Swift Trucking is an example of it. There's a company that makes all the signs for the state of Arizona, all the signs that are on the highways. Those are all made here in our Tucson prison, actually, down in Tucson. Wow. And inmates make those. So your average job in prison, like if you work in the kitchen, you're probably making like 30, depending on your phase. We have like phases, like phase 1, if you've been good, you have no tickets for a year, you get to phase 3. It means you have longer visitation, you can spend more money in the store. Everybody wants to be a phase 3. If you're a phase 3, you might make like 45 cents working in the kitchen. If you're a TA, you know what I mean, like teaching people to get their GEDs, you're gonna make like 45 cents. These outside companies, though, they have contracts with the prison system. It's a company actually called ACI, Arizona Correctional Industries, I believe. It's actually a private company. They contract with the Arizona Department of Corrections, and they let companies go into the prison and say, like, hey, look, you guys there's a couple benefits. One, your workers are going to show up every fucking day because they ain't got nowhere else to go. That's the major benefit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. He said he's in a cell number 15. He said he'll call his house like, hey, man.
But for the company, it's hard for companies to hire good workers. So it's not like it's, I think a lot of people might have like a negative connotation towards it where it's exploitation. And it's not that. It helps a lot of people. It helped me. It helps a lot of people, hundreds if not thousands of people. So for example, in Buckeye, Swift Trucking, you'll see them. Now that I've mentioned them to you, you're going to start noticing Swift Trucking on the highways. You'll see big semis that say Swift on the side. Every single one of their trucks goes to the Buckeye prison system. When I was in there, they would go to Steiner. That was the medium yard. But now they go to, I think they go to Bachman, which is one of the minimum yards. But they've got probably 100 employees who are inmates who do upholstery, they do paint, they do engine work, they do welding, they do body work on the actual semi itself, they do, anything you can do on a vehicle, like literally body, frame, everything. And they get paid $4 an hour, which is a lot. That's the highest the prisons will pay anybody as an inmate is $4 an hour. You start at $3 an hour, and after a while, you can work your way up to $4 an hour. So you're making $4 an hour, but then you could get overtime and make $6 an hour. Another big one is Hickman's Egg Ranch. Hickman's Egg Ranch. They're one of the biggest egg producers in the country. All of their eggs, the chickens, are processed in Buckeye as well, the same prison system.
Oh, wow.
And the inmates would, talk about it. You'd hear people talking about it, and you'd be like, yeah, we fucking walk through like hundreds of chicken beaks, and they're out there in chicken shit, farming eggs.
Wow.
And those guys make $4 an hour. And if you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and you can only spend $100 a week in commissary because that's the most you're allowed to spend, which you don't need to spend anyways. That's a lot. $100 a week consistently every week starts adding up to the point where you don't need that much.
You only got so much shit in your life.
You got so much shit you can hold, exactly. So I would spend $50, $60 a week and send my money home. I'd send money home to my daughter. I'd send money home to my mom if I could have her pay a bill for me. Like, hey, pay this old fine I have off so I can get my license when I come home. And those guys would come home with lots of money. My job was a little different. So I was in Tucson. We were on a yard called Whetstone. There's a few companies there that are private companies like ours. We worked for a company doing telemarketing. A guy, he was a civilian. He owned a telemarketing company. He heard about this. He said, like, hey, you can actually go into the prisons and build a company, in the prison and hire people to telemarket for you. So he went in there. He set up an office. In fact, I was one of his first 6 employees. I worked for him the first time I got to minimum. I went to minimum once, then I got into a little bit of trouble, I think for tattoos, actually, and I went back to medium, and then I came back to that same minimum and ended up working for him again. But we started for him working for like $3 an hour. And which in prison's a lot of money. You're working 40 hours a week. That's $120 every week. But after a few years, the owner of that company, he taught me a lot. Him and I aren't on like the greatest terms over the last few years, but he still owns that company to this day, and he taught me a lot. He gave all of us a good opportunity to make a lot of money, and he taught me a skill. He taught me sales, which is, in my opinion, the most valuable skill any person on the planet can know is sales and communications, your ability to interact with other people.
Communicate with people.
Exactly. And I did sales. I learned sales. I studied many, many sales books while I worked for him. Probably read 50, 60 books. I worked for him for years. And at a certain point, he was hiring so many inmates. Okay, so this is how the prison benefits from this, by the way. He's not paying $3 an hour. He's paying minimum wage, which in Arizona back then was like $9 an hour, $8 an hour. He pays that to the prison, and the prison pays us $3 an hour.
The prison's making a difference.
So the prison's making $5 every hour, which is cool. I get it. Like, they're making money. There's nothing wrong with that. Make your money. I get it. But you're giving us a chance to learn something. They make $5 an hour per inmate. If you got 20 inmates working, you're making $100 an hour, 40 hours a week. You're making a good amount of money.
Adds up.
Now you got 30 companies doing it. There's some companies, there's a bigger company out in the women's prison in Prairieville that has like 100 female workers doing telemarketing, selling like multi-million-dollar software packages to, I'll send you a link. There's actually,
Damn.
there's a YouTube video about them. Yeah, the girls, they sell.
So this major company, like.
Yeah, they're called, I think they're called Televerde. And they hire like 100 female workers at Prairieville, and they pay the females whatever commissions. I don't know what they pay them.
Shit.
And they sell like a huge software, like security services to like IBM or like Intel, something like that. I looked it up a few years ago and just out of curiosity.
Wow.
But we were selling advertising. That's what we sold.
Okay.
And we sold advertising, and we started with just a few people. We built it up. I ended up becoming the trainer for the entire office probably 2 or 3 years into my sentence, or 2 or 3 years into working for him, so probably 5 years into my sentence. And we started getting paid commissions because he wanted to incentivize us to say, like, hey, make more sales. Let's have good sales numbers. So he said, I'm going to figure out a way to get you guys commission. And he did. He went to bat for us. He went and negotiated with the prison system, and the prison system would take, the prison system, this is where they actually get you. They charge us room and board. So if we get...
Whoa. What?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, the prison?
Yes. I've got friends who've paid thousands, like tens of thousands.
To be in prison?
Yeah, for room and board. Straight up room and board. I got a buddy. He might talk to you about it. He's
the-
probably paid 50 G's in room and board.
What?
Yeah, close friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. He's probably... I probably paid 10 grand. They take it from our check. So they have a structure. So if our paycheck is like $200, the prison takes like 1.5% for this DUI fee. That even if you don't have a DUI, every inmate pays this for whatever reason from their work fees because it's like some program that you have to pay fees for. Then there's these other fees. I used to have it memorized because it was my money and I was in prison. It was my check. And one of them is room and board. They would take roughly about a quarter of your check to room and board if you were making, oh, and then we pay for utilities also. We also pay for electric. If you have more than 2 appliances, like a lamp and a TV, you now get charged $2 every month off your, yeah.
So they're making money, then they're getting state funding on top of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's all about money. That's what we say. It's money on every single level of the whole, it's money on every level of the entire process. But, you know, he did go to bat for us, the owner of that company, and he got us commissions to the point where we were getting like 5% commission. Well, some of us started getting pretty good at sales when that happened because we were making like $500 sales. So, you know, 5% of that's $25. Well, if we do a $1,000 sale, now we're getting a $50 commission. On the streets, $50 doesn't sound like a lot of money. $50 in prison. I've seen dudes get beat up over 2 top ramens, like many times, like many times. $50 is a lot of money in prison. That's like the equivalent, you know, probably $500-600 out here in the streets.
Yeah.
And we start getting these $50 commissions. Well, now we're not getting 1 sale a day anymore. Now we're getting 2-3 sales a day, and we're getting bigger sales. We're getting more sales frequently, and at the end of the month, we're getting these commission checks for. The best month I ever had was May of 2015. I got a commission check for $3,800 on top of my $3 an hour. So I made $3,800 that month. I think I did the math, and I think I made almost $20 an hour that month, which in prison is like, I was getting paid like a neurosurgeon. And I was not even in the top 5 people. I was the trainer. I have friends. I was probably top 4 highest paid people in the office. I had friends who made a lot more than I did. I don't want to say the exact amount, but we're talking 6 figures, like high 6 figures. Very, very good salespeople who taught me a lot.
Hey, you guys, you talking about prison economics, man. This is a whole nother level, man. Big Herc 916 and Mike, Prison Talk.